Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at SheKnowsArsenal. Arsenal 0, Tottenham 1. Are we shocked? I'm not shocked at all. Look, you never want to lose a game against Tottenham. It's just feels disgusting, doesn't it? It's a preseason match, but it's never really a preseason friendly type of match against them ever, so to lose to this Tottenham team looking as raggedy as they looked without Harry Kane, and with basically our strongest lineup, bar Bukayo Saka and Gabriel and Thomas Partey, but still, it doesn't feel good, does it? It doesn't feel nice, so we'll try to figure out some positives. I do think there's some positives, but they're less. There's definitely more negatives to me than positives, but we can talk through it. There's about 60 of you guys watching right now. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, so I mean, I guess my initial reaction mostly is just we're better when we're younger. I just feel as though like there's a definite drop off between the older players and the younger players. Like besides Thomas Partey when he's fit, I do think the younger our team is, the better quality they tend to be. And towards the end of the game, I thought that we were creating better chances. Well, we were actually creating chances towards the end of the game once the younger players got involved in the game. When we had some of the Lacazettes, Aubameyangs, I know we'll talk about them. El Neni, when he came in, everything dropped off in the midfield. When Chambers came in for Ben White, the quality dropped off. So I think there's a direct correlation between quality and age in our team. And the younger we are, the better we are. And we saw that last season as well when we had Saka and ESR in the team. So it's just frustrating, going into the new season off of the back of losing to Tottenham is not a good feeling. But we will try to conjure up some positives, but I do think we want to be as realistic as possible and be real about where we are, because I have huge questions about the way that we create chances, the amount of chances that we create. They're not high quality. The way that we cross the ball is not conducive to the strikers that we have currently. Our build-up play is fine, our possession is fine, but our final third actions is really leaving us wanting. So I don't know, you guys, but let's go ahead and get started. I have George here and Souls. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey. So Souls has on the nice new hoodie. You want to show people your nice, beautiful hoodie? Do one of these?
I mean, it looks better than the fucking way we play at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Arsenal
We're Swagger
Fashion Club,
FC,
isn't it?
Boohoo FC, whatever you want to say. We're literally just fashion. We're literally a fashion brand. We're no longer a football club.
It's crazy. I mean, it is a friendly, but it's against Spurs, so losing definitely doesn't feel good. But for me, is anybody shocked at the way it went down? I mean, we had possession,
you know what
possession. Yeah, go ahead.
It's the final game before the season starts, and we look no better in attack than we did last year. And I think that's what the problem is. You can let friendlies go, but you want to see something. You want to see that there's at least a plan, or there's a passage of play, or there's ways. Do you know what? Even if we didn't score today, I wouldn't have been angry at that. It's just a lack of chances, or like you said before, a lack of quality chances. In the Premier League, this whole setting is going to change. It's going to be a lot more rougher. It's going to be a lot more pressing, and there's going to be a lot. This is like as easy as you can get, and it's the closest thing to like a training game that you can get against these big teams. Even against Chelsea, we didn't look to really kill a team open and rip them open. But what it took them to rip us open was one ball over the top constantly. It was like one ball was constantly ripping our defense, and it's the same old problems. And the problem is now it's like, well, this is it. This is your practice. Now it's the real thing. It's going to start in a week's time. Brentford's your only other option where you can try a few things out, because it's Brentford. We don't know what quality they're going to do, whether they can bring their sort of championship level to the Premier League, and whether they're actually going to challenge, because they are a team that love to play football. So it might be an opportunity to get at some. But then after that, we have got some of the top, well, our competitors to play against. Some of the top 6 are coming within the first sort of 10 games. We've got most of them to play. So I think that's what causing a lot of negativity, and what's causing people to be a bit more down about this result, more than the fact we lost.
I mean, should we expect different results from our front line when it's virtually the same and Arteta's making kind of like the same choices? I know in our group chat, we kind of spoke about the imbalance of that front line, and in particular, playing Lacazette and Aubameyang together, not really yielding the type of results that we want. George, did you want to speak on that a little bit? I know you maybe feel like it's imbalanced just like I do.
Like always, like this, and this is one of my biggest criticisms with Mikel Arteta, and I've said it in past streams. He continuously produces imbalanced front lines, and it just does not work. And I'm really, really getting annoyed with this persistence, because in my mind right now, okay, like forget debates about what type of striker, forget debates about output. Even when you're a coach, you need to give the team the proper tools in order to succeed. And when you don't do that, it gets annoying. In the first couple of years, I thought, you know what, I'll give him maybe in the not years, sorry, but the first couple of months, I'll be like, look, he's a rookie manager. Let's just give him the time to kind of iron it out. But when you continuously put a front line that is imbalanced, that isn't balanced with 2 creatives and 2 runners, it is very, very annoying as a coach. And, for myself, Lacazette and Aubameyang don't work for a variety of reasons. And what I saw today, and it's very frustrating seeing Oba back in our box. It really is. You can't be playing him in the left wing. And while I think he had a very decent first half, in fact, I think some of the narrative that I'm seeing online, it's going overboard again. I don't see this game as clear chance after chance after chance with Spurs. I really don't see that. It was very much the first half. After 10 minutes of Spurs doing quite well, or winning the early exchanges, we dominated the half. That first half was absolutely Arsenal's. It was classic Arsenal from last season. We dominated possession, space, and didn't capitalize on changes. Then roll on the second half. That's where things took a dive down. And when you're looking at it, we looked tired. We just didn't get a kick in. And it was basically flipped from Spurs dominating the entire second half. And we defended horribly, and they took their one chance and they scored. And it was 1-0. And I think that was really the story of the game for me. But I'm really getting kind of pissed off with the frontline persistence, because it just does not work. And look, I understand that Gabby's not there, and he's a much better left wing option if you're going to play a false 9 type person. But I'm just getting really annoyed because Lacazette doesn't offer the technical security deep in there. If you're going to play that way, commit to a philosophy. Like, just make sure that you make a decision. This indecision, it doesn't fly with a year and a preseason under your belt for me. And that's what it is for me, right? When you stick Aubameyang and Lacazette together, it's indecision. And let's have that right. It's not a manager or somebody that knows what he wants to do moving forward in attack. And yes, I understand that we don't have our first teamers. Yes, I understand that we have Saka, but yet to come back. I understand that there's some missing pieces that aren't there. But again, put the team out that is balanced. Look, if you're going to play that way, you got to make sure that you have some technical security. Because what I saw was Emile Smith-Rowe struggling to connect things, getting a few good touches, always secure on the ball, but always on an island. One of my big things that I messaged in the group chat was this front line looks like they're just living in individual actions. And it's getting annoying. It really is getting quite annoying because you know what? They have all got the experience to do better, to be more cohesive. And the fact that the youngsters are doing better, I don't buy that crap. I'm sorry. Like, even that whole front line has done it all, really. Aubameyang has got it to the elite portions of the game. Lacazette's an extremely experienced player. And Pepe is 26. He's not a 22-year-old player. These decision-making problems that all of them are doing right now are basics. And you can't not be upset at that. So I get the frustration. I'm frustrated as well. I think the front line is very different. You know, Saka, even though he looked loose, it looked like his first game back, he was more threatening.
Then Emil looked better as well. Like, I think that was my thing. Emil looked so much better once Saka came on and when Balogun was out there.
There was runners. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, I hate to be like I'm really sick and tired of people making excuses for players that they love and not being fair. There's a reason that Emil looked better. There's a reason that Balogun and Saka offered more. And it wasn't just, you know, this idea that they're young and they're fervent with
youthful
energy.
Exuberance. It's not that. They're better.
It's not.
Like,
they're
I just
sharper.
think they're better players.
They're sharper. They're sharper in the actions. They're sharper in their decision making. You know, Saka is going. He's operated in left wing and he's popping up on the right wing. He's making and forcing the issue. And look, guys, what I tell my players all the time is you force your own good luck. This isn't just coincidence. So when you go and you play and you attack space and you make those good decisions, things will start to work and come out for you. And I just didn't see enough of it. I saw Lacazette coming in doing this stupid layoff pass that he always does. And he doesn't look. He doesn't look when he does it. And it annoys me because then people say, oh, he offers us something different. He offers us an option in there. No, he doesn't. Look, ultimately, you got to temper things because, look, it is preseason. I don't believe that results play a dictator to your preseason. I really don't believe in that at all. But it's annoying when the coach is making kind of similar basic mistakes. And so that I have to criticize for. And ultimately, we just got to be patient. And it never feels good losing to these lot. But I don't see it as one-sided as what's been on social media, by the way. I think at the same token, this idea that Spurs were much better throughout the match, that's not true. They won the entire second half, fair play. They were great. But we won the first half. Absolutely. And we had the better chances in the first half. We didn't capitalize. But Mari, he let us down. He let us down again. And Mari was our worst player. And then Benjamin White was our best player. And it frustrates me because you get two dichotomies here, right? You've got players again letting you down that you know, but then your new signing being your best player in 60 minutes in his first game, really, with the team. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it is. And like,
kind of annoying.
When I look at Marie, I have to get this out. Like, who said he was better than Gabriel? So many people were saying that because him and Rob Holding looked decent against West Brom. Like, you saw the rashness then. You saw the stupidity then. He does some stupid shit, okay? Like, that guy. And so it's, you know, going into next season, in just, you know, a couple of days, knowing that Marie is going to be starting is a worry for me in a high line. You know, I do want to talk about offensive set pieces. We can get to that. But first, let's talk about the high line. I don't think there's anything wrong with it if you have pressure on the ball and you have defenders that are smart and at least one that can run. You know, Ben White is intelligent. He's an intelligent player that knows what his strengths and weaknesses are, so he doesn't get caught out. There's no coincidence that he looked like he was under zero pressure today. It's because he wasn't. It's because he knew. He was thinking ahead of time. Whereas Bellerin was standing next to him looking like he's never played football in his entire life. Ben White was on it. He's smarter and he's just a better player. And then you have Marie. I don't think there's any issues with the high line if you have the right players. And we don't have Gabriel at the moment. Are you guys kind of feeling leery about the high line playing that way without the pressure on the ball that we need? Because it's not like Spurs weren't getting in quite easy, you know, behind our front line or our high line, but we don't have Gabriel. I worry about having Marie back there. He was lost. You know, George, you're doing one of these, you know, What do you think?
Well, no, because then at the same token, if you're going to criticize playing a high line, then I don't want people criticizing our attacking play. Then you need to expect to sit back. Like you can't have your cake and eat it too, because I've said that having the high line absolutely is essential to moving forward into what we want to play. And again, I understand that it doesn't make for nice viewing in preseason, which means nothing, but you need to play this way in order to get used to clearly how we want to play, right? Like I am not a fan of just saying, let's just change it when things are going bad. I don't believe in that. So if the high line is how we want to play, I have no issues with it. In fact, I want it. I want the high line. And I am very patient and kind of bird's eye view enough to understand that you put Gabriel in that team, that's a very different story. I loved what Ben White offered. This is what I was talking about, by the way, when it's not just a ball passing center back, but a ball progressing center back. People are finally going to see in those 60 minutes what it's like when a midfielder maybe loses his marker, which, by the way, Lokonga did. I love him. He had a great game, but there were times that positionally he wasn't there. But, Ben White was able to fill the hole, nip up, and kind of cut out the fire. And, I think Koscielny was amazing at that, by the way. And it was very reminiscent of that. And I just think you add a Ben White on the left side, which is Gabriel, but also much more aerially dominant, then it absolutely looks miles different. And so I'm not at issue with the high line, absolutely not. But at the same token, you can't expect us to continue to want attacking football and not take initiative. So it's poor. We know that. It's been doing with poor players. But is that our first choice, making the same mistakes with the high line? No. If I see similar mistakes with our first choice, that's where we can start to have a conversation. But I mean, I still struggle to kind of hammer somebody like Marie, who's not a high line defender, doing it. So yeah, it's poor. I know that, but I expect that from Marie. If I saw Ben White having very similar issues, I'd be worried. I'd be with you, but I didn't. In fact, I think we looked great with him stepping up like that, and it really did well to our counter press. So you have to do these teething issues if you want to take the next step as a team.
Yeah. Souls, what do you think about the whole high line, situation? I mean, I like it and I want it because I know that that's how we're going to play with Gabriel. And that's ultimately why you spend 50 million on Ben White. But Marie, so, I mean, the guy was tragic today. Absolutely tragic. What do you think, Souls?
Do you know what it is, right? Like, so I mean, a lot of people know I watch a lot of Barcelona, have done, pretty much the same length of time I've watched Arsenal, and they were a team that modelled the high line. They were the ones who introduced it under the Johan Cruyff philosophy, where you want to press high, you want to bring in the 9-second rule. When Pep came in, and it works if you've got the right centre backs, and it's a combination of pace and intelligence. It's not just pace, because you had Piqué, who bought the pace when he was a lot younger. Then you had Puyol, who was just intelligent. He was someone like a Ben White, where he was a sweeper, someone who would go in for those aggressive tackles. Obviously, we're yet to see that from Ben White, but it's only been a game. But we have got the defenders. It's just unfortunate at the moment, like one of them's injured, because you can see Ben White clearly suits it. He knows where he needs to be. He's got the observational awareness of where his player is. Marie doesn't. Marie has let many players get by him. Even when you looked at it in the second minute, Bellerin allowed Lucas Moura away from himself, and that's the consequence of players not looking over their shoulders, not looking at where the space is, and in a sense where the opposition's actually intelligent enough to understand where they need to attack their space. And that's what you're going to see in the Premier League, especially when you want to challenge for top 4, top 6. Those teams have got enough attacking prowess to be able to expose those weaknesses within our team. But we need to play it so that we can start to see, okay, what types of players do we need to bring in? What Ben White suited it. You can clearly see that, we did our scouting right. Those video scouting, those analytics used in this, those many modern day sort of scouting methods used, and you can see all of that. Yes, it's 60 minutes. I understand maybe we're getting too ahead of ourselves, but I've seen enough of Ben White to understand that this is who he is. And I mean, me and George from the get-go, when the links came in, we were both saying that this is the centre back. You at first didn't. You came around to it. So, but at first, we were all like, no, this is the centre back we needed. And there was people saying to me, nah, Lewis Dunk is better than him. I'm not saying who's the better defender, but who suits us better is him. And you could see it. Like anytime he needed to step forward, he made sure he's winning that ball. He never got exposed. On the other hand, Marie, I don't look. It could be many. With him, it's many contributing factors. He's not got the pace, but I don't think he's got the defensive ability either. His tacklings are off. His timing's off.
He can't even pass, yo.
But
Yeah.
Souls, you know what? Okay, the thing with him, you know what frustrates me with him? Okay, he had played a high line with his past team. Like this isn't new for him. And you know what? Like even in defensive ability, he wasn't like this last season. I didn't feel as worried in defensive isolation. He's just poor. Like you have to say it is what it is. And he was the reason he's not. And this game, he ruined our build-up the left-hand side. People are telling me, what did Tierney do? Well, nothing, because Marie was giving it to him 2 seconds late. Tierney was high and wide. He was asking for it. Marie was ruining that entire left-hand side. And so it wasn't just Aubameyang receiving on an island. It was Tierney as well. And he is at fault for that. And you know what? We see this too often with a lot of these players that just aren't up to the level. Again, though, I do just comment caution because, look, high line, you add Gabriel, you add a goalkeeper like an Onana into that back line. None of this happens. And that, by the way, is £5 million away from happening. So like I understand the frustration because of what you're seeing, but this idea that Leno, who by the way didn't cover himself in glory again today on his distribution, was giving the ball in very bad spaces.
He passed it right to Dele Alli once. He kicked it straight to him. I was like, this is just silly.
Yeah. It's a problem. It is a problem, and so I'm not afraid that we don't address it. But Marie has to have huge criticism. He was the worst player on the pitch today, and I hate that our new signing was the best player on the pitch today for us, and it frustrates me. That's a chasm of what this team needs, right? And I understand the frustration and anxiety because if your best signing is your best player, it'd be nice to have a couple more of those, right? So, yeah, I get it.
Can I just say that? Oh, go ahead, Souls.
Yeah.
I'll go after
you. If you look at Piqué's whole entire career was played on a high line, but guess what Coleman needed to do? He knew that his age was coming to it where he can no longer play Piqué in that team with everything he brings and the high line. He turned into a 3-back just to be able to accommodate that. Then he saw Longley was struggling as well, playing a high line. These are players that arguably have the quality to play it, but they don't possess the pace nor the intelligence sometimes. And I think that's all it is. It's just once Gabriel comes in, I do believe he has, if anything, he's got the pace. If you don't want to give him any defensive contribution, anything like that, he's got the pace to recover at the bare minimum. And that's something that you sometimes need more than anything else. And Ben White's the intelligent one. That duo will work, but Marie doesn't offer any of that. So it's just about waiting. But it's about getting everyone else, other than the centre-backs, ready to play this high line. Once Gabriel comes in, I have no real reservations that it won't work.
Look, and I'm still trying to figure out. So I'm looking at the comments and I'm seeing people saying like we're being delusional. Did you miss the part where we said that Arteta was making mistakes with the front line? Like, I don't know what you guys really want. Like, do you want us to rage and scream? Like, I don't really know. Like, I don't believe that we're not going to get new signings. I don't believe that, if we don't get 4 or 5 new signings, that we're definitely going to finish in the bottom half of the table. Like, I think we tend to overreact to certain things and underreact. I think we're right there in that midsection where we are criticizing Arteta for, he does not get the balance right. And yes, he's trying to implement a high line where we don't have the players, but at some point Gabriel will come back and it won't be an issue. So, and he does need to figure out the attacking situation. But at the same time, I don't think we have the players. I just don't think we have the right profiles, to score the goals that we're looking to score. Like, I don't know if it's really Arteta's fault that Aubameyang looks the way that he looks. Like, he, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really buy it. Like, that it's Arteta that's making him look a yard off pace. Like, you know what I mean? I don't really feel that way. I think Arteta's been responsible for getting the best out of Lacazette, which is why people at the moment are sitting here like, we should keep him. It's because Arteta's making him look better by putting him in a position where he looks better. Xhaka is the exact same way. Like, we have to be balanced, and it's still preseason, and I still expect us to be Brentford, and I don't see the bottom half of the table because we lost 1-0 to Tottenham. I don't see it. Like, you know what I mean? Lokonga was great today. Ben White looks good. And like, quite frankly, when you look at our recruitment, especially since when Edu and Arteta were in charge, not Raul, there's still some blurry lines there where people are giving Arteta and Edu credit for transfers that weren't theirs. Ever since Edu and Arteta have been in charge, when those players have come and stepped onto the pitch, has it not felt like it was the right thing, except for Willian? It has.
Yeah, Willian, yeah, 100%.
Like, it's like as soon as they touch the pitch, you're saying like, this is the right, it feels right. So I get it, like the anxiety, but like we're going to get relegated is so silly. Like, and I just can't buy into it. I think we're being balanced enough. You know what I mean? But the last thing I want to talk about in terms of like just full on negatives for me is the offensive set pieces. I'm still not really understanding why every single person, Pepe and ESR in particular, when they took those, when they took the kicks, short, they were going too far. They were either taking them short or going too far. And I'm wondering, like, those are goals that we really need. I have a hard time believing that we're just bad, like in the air. I do think that some of our players can be better on offensive corners and free kicks, but are you guys worried about the offensive aspect of it? We don't really get a lot out of that, and we have a dedicated coach to it. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know, because the game before we were great, and I understand the actual logic for it just as a coach, because our strikers and our most potent goal scorers aren't available aerially. Like, Gabriel is our most dominant aerial center back right now, and putting it into the mixer right now would be kind of futile for me. I don't know if we have the heading ability to actually compete right now, because I think going long and actually going short, that's what I would do as a coach looking at our makeup. I don't have a striker there that's aerially dominant. I don't even have a midfielder that's aerially dominant. Xhaka's only header goal came from Chelsea's lousy man marking that left him totally free. And it wasn't a result of a good free kick routine. I need to be fair here, you know. And I think on balance in preseason, our offensive set pieces have been better. They have been more potent. It's our defensive set pieces that I'm actually the other way on, where I don't think we've been great defending set pieces in this preseason. But I'm not too worried about it. Again, I don't think we have a team that's aerially strong without Martinelli, Gabriel. Like, those are your two starting aerial abilities in the team that aren't there. So if they're on the pitch, then yeah, I'm with you, Jess. I expect a little bit more in the mixer. But otherwise, as a coach, you do want to go long because you're looking at a Dele Alli type redirect into the box. And if you were to do it straight off the jump, we're not winning those first balls in the mixer. We just aren't. And so you end up losing an opportunity to keep control of the ball. So either you go long or you go short in order to maintain possession a little bit more and see if you can get a shot off, as opposed to just chucking it in the mixer and having it come back at you. So I think it's okay. But look, guys, I just want to bring up the one quote, because I don't know if it's going around social media, but the idea of Willock, right? And Mikel said that he would address it after, and he literally just said, "We will explain about Joe when we can." He's gone. And it's this idea that this team is in transition. And so I only bring it up because it makes it very difficult for me to place stock in results and output. A, in preseason, I find that notion ridiculous, but B, in a squad with players that know that they are leaving or their futures are undecided, it makes it very difficult for me to question motivation when themselves, they lack motivation. They might be on, they might be going. And so I do think that there's this little weird period in preseason where we as fans look at results a lot more on the team, but I can assure you, as players, as coaches, they legitimately view this as training exercises. And it's not an excuse to say those things. You can say that it was poor, like we have been. I think we've all been in unison that the second half was poor. It was just bad. It wasn't even like there was, oh, there's a good piece of play here, I can see what we're doing. It was just really poor, and no one looked on pace. Xhaka looked absolutely knackered. Sambi did too, by the way. Like, he looked like he was heaving and he needed that sub. And it doesn't mean that they're bad players, though. And this is where I don't understand the meter to the other end of the extreme, that you then have to kill your players and say that you're crap and go into this spiral of saying, oh, we're going to achieve nothing and yada, yada, yada. Like, it's too far. You can at one token say that we were poor in this moment. That doesn't mean then that the season is going to be poor. So I don't know. I need to get that out because I'm seeing too much of it lately. I see it like people are looking for a loss and it's not on. It really is not on. And it has nothing to do with whether or not you like attacking patterns, you like sections of the team. That's beyond that point. But you cannot go to the other end. And that also means in a positive sense. Like, I'm not going to sit there and blow rainbows up and say we're title challengers. But fundamentally, I don't think anyone with a straight face can sit there and say that the collection of players we have right now suit a lot of the demands that what we're saying. A, consistent high line implementation. B, consistent output and title challengers, or even competition with top 4 rivals that everyone tells me are miles ahead of our squad. So until that change is realized, we need to be patient and be understanding of what to criticize. For example, Mikel, fix your front line. It's not on. You can do that with poor players. You don't need strikers in order to fix that. That's you choosing the wrong profiles. So let's change that.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about balance, isn't it? It's like, we're not just saying it's just preseason. Like, we get that these games do mean something, but they don't mean we're going to get relegated. You know what I mean? Like, there's very little balance in the fan base right now. And, like I've just said, like, there's people that are blaming Cedric and Marie as Arteta signings. They're not. They're Raul signings. But if Raul, when he got fired or let go or whatever, he was 100% ahead of transfers. Nobody else touched anything. It was a closed door. It was Raul does everything. You say what you want, and he uses Kia, and then you get the players that you just get. Since Edu has been in charge, it's been Willian and Runnerson that have been bad signings. But there's also been Thomas Partey, Gabriel, Tavares, Lokonga, and White. So let's be balanced here. Yes, they probably take too long to sell players, but they've also brought in good players. Have we had good shakeups in the back room? I think Richard Garlick has been good so far. He's also getting us ahead of some really important homegrown quota issues so next season when they hit, we won't be buying these English players for 100 million because that's how much they're going to be going for. You know what I mean? Like, we have a new under 23s coach. Like, let's be balanced. There's been some good and there's been some bad, but just because you don't like Edu doesn't mean you just ignore everything that he's done good. Because I have huge questions about him. But like,
I don't think he's the man. I really don't think he's the man. I don't either.
But that doesn't mean that you ignore anything that he does that's positive. You know what I mean? But Souls, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of an overreaction on the whole Edu thing. I think there's things that, like you said, it's a fair balance. He's not the best. He's not the worst. He's just, all right, he's doing... But I don't really know what the fans expected when Wenger went. Like, did they expect an overnight rebuild? Or... Because don't forget, like, the thing is, I don't think in football we've ever seen a rebuild this big. But then when you look at another club, right, that's also been in the same situation where a legendary manager who's been there for 2 decades also left in Sir Alex Ferguson at United. How long has that taken? Even to this day, they're still rebuilding, and that's United. And look, I'm not saying that we're bigger or they're bigger or this or that, but it's United. That they're not even one of the biggest clubs in England. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world in terms of global fan base, in terms of just trophies won, in terms of just how much they've competed in Europe, and they're struggling to get it right the first time around or the second time around or the third time around. Or there's been signings where they've also questioned whether they turn out to be good now is a different question, but Maguire was a question. They still to this day question Wan-Bissaka as a signing. So, and then Fred, and then why is McTominay constantly playing? Why is this player constantly playing? Why is what's happening with Pogba? Blah blah. And it's like, I do think sometimes we need to take a step back and realize that these things don't happen overnight. I always expected at least, and I know this is gonna sound mad, but I expected 7 to 10 years before we start challenging again. That was my realistic expectation because we don't spend money in terms of our owner's not going to come in and go, here you go, here's £200 million out of my own back pocket. You've got the £70 million that we spend every year anyways. There you go. You've got your war chest of £300 million. Go spend it. We don't do that. What we do is we're in this self-sustaining model, which has now been massively impacted because COVID hasn't allowed the revenue to come in that it usually did, where it was like match day goers, season ticket holders. There's other commercial revenues that come with just match days as well. And that's obviously taken a big hit. So it's one of those where I genuinely don't know what the expectation was when Wenger left from a lot of this fan base. We're going to get things wrong. It's not always going to go smooth. But have we taken the right precautions? I believe so. That's my honest answer. We're trying to do the right things. It may not always work, but you've got to try something and put people in place to ensure that it doesn't happen. So, and I think it's somewhat working.
Can I also say that, like, just really quick on the whole Manchester United thing? I don't think they're always the best example because I think financially they're on a different level. I would say you have to look at
that's
somebody.
What I mean.
But
they've still struggled regardless of what they're.
No, people in the comments, like they're comparing us. They're like, well, they've been second, third, and second. That's because they are in a different playing field than we are. You have to look at somebody like Liverpool, who literally has a very similar business model to us. And look how long it took them to build up to being the team that they are now. It's taken like 10 years, like since they've actually started building the team. Like it's taken a long time. Klopp has been there since what, 2015?
Yep.
Ish. So it's 2021. That's 6 years. And they had been trying to build something prior to that. So all I'm saying is that it all goes back to ownership, and we have to have realistic expectations, and we can't look at Manchester United and say, well, they did this. Like, well, they're playing on a different playing field.
Well,
like,
Jess, honestly, okay, look, I think that point that you make at the end about expectations is what I keep critiquing people for expecting, because I don't think there's been realistic evaluation of the squad. And what that means then is that, of course, I understand if you expect a certain area of competition with your squad, you believe that they are better than what they are and we should be competing, then I understand if you fall, then you feel, well, this is not good enough. And if you do that 2 years on the trot, I get that actual fan opinion about wanting change then. But for myself, I've never felt that the squad evaluation was really at the level that this fan base is really comfortable with. I mean, when you do look at our squad, it is so poor back to front. There are way too many things wrong with the squad, way too many squad bloating issues, and we're being held back by scars of the past. And I don't believe that a lot of the short-term changes have held us back from proceeding, whereas I believe a lot of the past decisions have absolutely done it. So I'm trying to remain level-headed when I'm trying to evaluate where we are at right now. And I'm sure we're going to have a show later on for everybody about predictions, which we are. It's coming up, so don't worry. You'll get to have that on video. But I am very interested to see what people believe we should be competing with, given the quality of the squad. And once again, the fact that Mikel has said we will speak on Joe a little bit later. For example, I just wonder, like, what do you put a Maddison and Saka into this front line? Like, let's spitball here, okay? Like, add that in. Are people telling me there's not a drastic change to efficiency? There's not a drastic change to attacking play? There's not a drastic change to how we progress the ball? There's a lot of these things that aren't there. And if the club don't get it done, I'm there ready to critique with you. But the fact that we're critiquing a fluid situation is something I cannot accept, really. I'm sorry. I can't really sympathize with that. I'm ready to critique the output at the end. And I'll be there with you, don't worry, if they don't get the job done. But at the current moment, there's a very fluid situation happening. And I don't believe I've seen the same Arsenal in the market this summer. It's been a very different market. So we'll just have to wait. The predictions will be there. We'll end up seeing who's been right at the end, and we'll reevaluate our thoughts, whether maybe we were deluded, maybe we weren't, maybe we were balanced, maybe we were way too optimistic. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to have different opinions, and I can't critique a fan for having an opposite opinion to me. So I do get it. And I have a lot of friends that are not as optimistic as me, or not as, maybe I'm just not as emotional, so I don't yell as much, but I do have a lot of fans that will want to temper with myself. And so I think the biggest issue for me is making repetitive mistakes. And So, for example, frontline balance, that's not on. I don't want to see that. And if I do and he continues to do it, then it's an absolutely valid critique. And he should be changing that because I'm sorry, Jess, I'm not with you. I don't want to see Laka and Oba in the first game of the season. And if that happens, that's a valid critique. You cannot be playing that way. Just commit to your style of play. I'd rather lose committing to a style of play and a philosophy than being indecisive and saying, oh, we need points. Maybe I should do this and I'll get my experienced players. Like, I don't like that. I like a vision. I would rather lose playing to my vision and by my own sword than catering into pressure, which I do, by the way, believe playing Oba and Laka is. It caters to pressure and dressing room dynamics. And I'm not on, essentially. So, yeah, I'm not freaking out because it is preseason. And I know how these things work, and they don't give you an indicator for the season. In fact, I'd say last preseason we were excellent, and we had one of our worst runs in November.
I've seen us beat Bayern Munich in preseason.
So it really doesn't matter. Not to mention, I mean, like anybody who's played at a decent level understands that preseason is not the time for you to get your form together. You're just working on getting your chest from stopping to heave, and that's essentially what it is. So let's wait, let's calm down. And I'm excited for Brentford. I really am, because again, I feel as though Ben White has shown us the future in terms of not just recruitment, but that recruitment really doing wonders for our team. And so I'm thinking, look, a couple more good decisions like that, and it changes the outlook. People praise Liverpool, by the way, for this absolutely revolutionary method. They got a couple good decisions right, but people seem to ignore the 5 years of very poor decisions that they continued to make too across their rebuild. So I actually think it's just simply a matter, maybe it's redundant or reductive rather, but making one or two good decisions changes everything. And, football is like this. So let's just wait. Let's see what happens going on. And I am excited about the transfer window because hearing that from Mikel confirms what I always thought. Willock is very close to being gone, if not gone already. And that just means Maddison for me. You do that change, that's a huge decision, right? That's a huge decision on a youngster that everyone claims that we maybe don't sell early enough. Maybe we are. Maybe we're going to take a hit. I mean, I think that's just a big kind of representation of our window and our transfer dealings. That change, that Willock for Maddison, I think that's huge. So let's see.
You guys are going to hate us now because we're going to pivot to positives, because there are some positives. There are. So I expect to see people even more mad in the chat. And one thing, you guys, can I just ask that we're mature in the chat and we're not abusive and cussing people out and stuff like that? Like, let's just calm down a little bit. I've seen some comments that I don't particularly like, and I'll just kick you straight out, So yeah, let's just try to keep it calm. You can say how you feel, but you don't need to curse us out or be rude, All right. So one of the positives, or let's just lump them together and just kind of talk about Lokonga and Ben White. I know we kind of touched on it already, but I mean, the reality is that, I think we realize how starved we are of quality, because they're doing simple things that aren't really they haven't done anything spectacular yet, but they look miles better than what we have. And, especially I think Ben White, I think because of the price tag, it was very negatively received by some people. And I understand why, but I think he looked like a $50 million acquisition today. Souls, for you, how much of a relief is it to see Lokonga and Ben White come into the side and look comfortable, and not only comfortable, but elevate our play?
With Ben White, I've got no surprises whatsoever. This is exactly what I was trying to explain to the fan base from the beginning of the window. Is the type of player we needed to bring in. Is when you look at someone like Gabriel, look, he could come back and he could be someone who's no longer rash, but he's a little bit more calmer in his play. But even if he is rash, Ben White's someone who can cover that. He's got the ability to come in and just sweep up after him if needed to be done. But also with Lokonga, he's someone that I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched the Belgian league or I've watched a lot of Lokonga. Yes, I've heard about him and I know what people think of him. Obviously, Thierry Henry and Vincent Kompany, two of the best players in the Premier League era, highly rate him and think he's got a very bright future. So who am I to say any different? And from watching him play, he's exactly what we've been missing in that midfield. Someone who can break the press rather than be sort of, overtaken by and just turn around and pass backwards or sideways and make the safe option. There was times where he took a touch, took the player out of the game, and then made a pass. And that's what you need. Sometimes we need these risks to be taken, and that's exactly what he did. And Ben White as well, the same. There was a time where he actually ran with the ball, and it wasn't for a foul. If he didn't get fouled, he would have probably made something of that. He was literally in their half and about to make a pass that could have broken the defensive line. And that's the difference with what happens when you bring a quality player in who are press resistant, who know how to break these presses and have those little neat touches in there, and they have the mobility. That's why I keep saying, when people ask about Xhaka and why I keep banging on about his mobility being a big issue, Lokonga has just answered that. Why you need mobile players within the Premier League, because the Premier League's a unique league where most to all teams press high. They press a lot. You'll find like maybe one or two teams that maybe don't play that way or give you a bit of room, but it's very rare in the Premier League. You don't get space to breathe. You don't get a space to think about what pass you want to make. And that's the reason why the mobility element of it and being able to break the press is very important to being a successful player, especially a successful midfielder in the Premier League. All the top players know how to do it, and they do it very effectively. And that's what we've seen in Ben White, and so in Lokonga. And he was trying to control the game. Of course, he's a young player who's going to make a lot of mistakes. Yes, like Jordan mentioned earlier, his position wasn't the best. He did get caught out a few times in terms of the way he man-marked a player or whether he even seen the runner of his player. But that's where Ben White came in and covered him. That's something which I'm not saying you let go of, but that's what your defense is there for, that last line of defense. But you want your midfield to be able to just cut it out there and not let it get back to your defensive line. But and it made a good duo. They made a very good. They were playing on the same side of the pitch, and I think they covered themselves in glory today. And of course, we knew Lokonga wasn't going to be the here and now. He's going to be he might play a part here, but he's going to improve as time goes on. And the things that he lacks are things that can be taught. They're not things which you have to have an instinct about. They're not things where if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. It's more about a mental game. It's about making him aware of where he needs to be in certain points of the game, what kinds of plays he'll do. And it's just about literally all it is. Someone needs to tell him, just scan the pitch a bit better. Just understand where your players are. And that's all it is. Once he makes that slight adjustment, which I think, this is where Arteta can be good, is for players like that, where, we've heard about Sterling and Sane and how literally Arteta came in and just said to him, look, it's your starting position that's actually ruining the way you play. And he made that adjustment. And, it was one of those where I think he can bring that over to a Lokonga, where it's a raw talent that just needs a few tweaks to his game, and you'll see a lot more out of him. And and I've got no doubt if he can continue his progression, that he'll be the heir to Partey's throne. And that's what we need him to be, because we don't know how much longer Partey will play at the top level, or how long, or how much longer, especially with now him picking up these injuries. I'm not saying it's a concern, it may not be major injuries, but when they add up, we don't know. That's where I'm going with it. And I'm impressed. Like you said, the signings have been the best players. I think Lokonga, yes, he had flaws to his game, but he was one of our better players today. And Ben White was phenomenal. Like I'm like, you know what? I'm just thankful that I don't have pie on my face, because I said he is worth £50 million that we paid for him. Because look, you've got to understand, Premier League proven, English, all of that, it's going to add up. His value, if he was Brazilian, or if he was Spanish, or it's probably 35 million. But then when you add the English and the Premier League part to it, it's always going to inflate the price. How much is the question? And
as long as he looks good on the pitch, who really cares how much he costs? You know what I mean? But
no one will be caring about that at all. And I don't know, like with the Sambi,
you spelled it wrong.
Oh,
which?
Who cares?
That's okay.
Who cares about that person? I mean, this is the question that I really want George to answer. Is Lokonga ready? to start against.
Of course he's ready. In fact, one of the best positives I can look at this is the performances of Mohamed El-Neni and Lokonga, who is his competition, right? Like that in our squad, that's his competition right now, and I love the levels that we're really seeing. Look, let's talk Sambi from literally a tactical point of view. Like, why is he so good, right? I think on the positive is you could see this in this game. I don't know if people caught on to it, but he was constantly checking his blind spot when receiving the ball. We don't have a midfielder that does that except for Partey. And even he doesn't do it as much as I would like. And that is scanning, guys. That is getting a picture behind you. And that is how he's able to be so good on the half turn. And when you're looking at it, it's not just that he's amazing in terms of scanning, but basically what I think is amazing is he is vertical in his passing. So when you look at partnerships, let's look at partnerships kind of in center midfielder, right? Like you've got Granit Xhaka and Mohamed El-Neni, who I call almost facilitator, kind of water carrier types. You know, they facilitate your partner. They'll receive the ball, they'll keep it moving, but they aren't really progressive in their pass. But not just that, they're not vertical in their pass. What Sam Mead always does is he receives, he turns, looks up, and he'll play a forward pass if he can. He's got long switches of play. Many times he received in the middle of the pitch, he was able to spread quite nicely out to Hector Bellerin. And I just love that versatility. Now, look, there are position issues. And I did try to tell everybody when we did sign him, there is raw position issues with him. And even in transition, I don't know if you guys saw, but in the first half, you know, he loses the ball and he is jogging. He did receive an interception really quite quickly on that. But the intensity in his jog after that was something I don't like. But again, Mikel is perfect for that type of player because Souls, like you said, and you know, we've said this before, Mikel likes to make bets on positionally incompetent players, but athletic freaks, because you can't change athleticism. You can change positioning. I can coach a player to be more aware, especially one who scans as regularly as Lokonga. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about his potential. I still think he's about a year or two away. But is he ready for Brentford? Absolutely, he's ready for Brentford. You know, look, we got to stop, looking at experience necessarily. I have this famous saying on Twitter, profiles over experience. Very simple. So if you're looking at patterns of play and center mid partnerships, Xhaka's going to start, right? What do we need with Granit? We need a little bit more in verticality on that side of the pitch. And Ben White is the absolute perfect foil for that because, look, Sambi will get caught out. He will. I don't care, though. If he's pushing our team forward with his passing, that's what he's done, and that's what he's put in the team to do. Ben White is amazing at filling in for space. And guys, I know it's very simple, but we don't do simple things here. And I know that it's basics. And so it just feels nice to have a player that's just doing the basics. It's not even just his passing, his anticipation and awareness. Ben White was everywhere in that first half in terms of a high line. And you know what it did? It allowed us to sustain pressure. So when we did lose it, he's like an extra insurance policy on that transition control. So with Partey, why Partey is so good is he gives you the Sambi progression, but off the ball, he controls things to allow you to recycle, to get the ball back. And so right now, we don't have a one-man show. We've got somebody that can help Thomas out. And I actually think we'll see a much higher Thomas Partey with Ben White, because what I saw today, it gave me like good but bad thoughts about what a Partey could do in that position with Ben White. You know, if he's doing that for Sambi and giving him that freedom, can you imagine what Thomas will do with those keys? Yeah, it's very, very, very exciting. So yeah, I think he's absolutely ready to start for Brentford. In fact, if he isn't, I'm going to critique. I'm going to be very upset because you can't.
Yeah, there's no way. George's opinion says Saka definitely looked like it was his first game. And that was my final positive was Saka's back. You know, I get it. But this was his first game back. And, you know, if we're going to say, well, as long as Aubameyang's getting into good positions, then he's just fine. Well, Saka was getting into good positions, so I think he'll be just fine. I mean, once he came on the pitch, the difference, in Smith Rowe is what's most important because we gave him the 10 shirt. I do think he needs some help. I do think ESR needs somebody else more experienced, a Madison there. But while Smith Rowe is on the field, he needs to have people of his same footballing IQ and ability out there with him. And he just doesn't have that when you have Lacazette and Aubameyang and Pepe. He doesn't have that. He needs Saka there as well. So when they got together, you could see we were connecting again. The through balls were going through. It wasn't dead. and we were running forward, like towards the goal. And if Saka has his shooting boots on, he scores a goal or two, which we weren't getting in those positions. We were having these little half chances, shots outside of the box, whiffs inside of the box off of crosses. So personally, I think Saka unlocks everything, and just seeing him back, even though he's rusty, you could just see like he's so important to our team. And it's unfortunate. I mean, it's not unfortunate that he's like 20 years old, but he is. He's he's arguably our most important player up top, but he just happens to be 20.
But he was our most influential attacker, Jess. Like, at the same token, I mean, I said it earlier in the stream, it looks like it was his first game. I agree with, George's comment. But at the same time, he was our most influential. And what makes Saka so great is he's not just like a facilitator, Jess. And like what I think is this older front line, they're caught in their individual actions, but Saka makes runs for the team. He makes he makes the ball stick to himself, and he brings others into play. So like when you do look at, ESR looking so bright and confident when he did come in, it wasn't just the fact that, Saka is a connector to things. He's making runs that he knows he won't get the ball at. And that's what Balogun did. I want to have a small praise for Balogun. A lot of people are saying he didn't do anything, but he was very sharp in his movement, made a lot of very attacking-minded runs. And what it does is it pulls opposition apart. I had this debate with somebody on Twitter, and I think a lot of people right now, what they're not doing is appreciating kind of off-the-pitch movement and what that does to pulling apart defensive lines. And I really think we don't do that enough. We're not aggressive in our off-the-pitch running, and it frustrates me because I think somebody like Pepe could be like that. I really do. Like, that is his game, and I really wish he was more purposeful with attacking space because, look, Balogun and Saka, they showed you the difference. Like, I don't believe that's on a setup. I don't, because they were in the same setup here. And it doesn't make sense that, that attack became a little bit more lively. And it's just about intent, guys. Just go make the run. You may not get it, but be more aggressive with your running. And it will pull things apart. And yeah, I'm just salivating at the thought. Can you imagine with Saka in there, along with ESR, and you've put in like a Madison, somebody else that can help him out to hold the ball? Because what Saka gives you, Jess, is it's not just the attacking space. He gives you somebody to like hold the ball. Emil was the only one doing that kind of really in the whole game. And once you saw Saka, you saw everybody, Kieran, Xhaka, everyone just like, give it to him. He'll hold on to it. He'll release some pressure from us. He's a pressure valve kind of release. And that's what we're looking at, a superstar player. I'm just so happy to see him back. Like, as soon as he came on, messaged the group chat, Bukayo, because like he solves everything for me. I love him so much. So yeah, I think I would start him, by the way, at Brentford. I'm sorry. Like, Pepe may have had a great, preseason,
wait.
but I would start him 100%.
Then what does that have to do with Pepe? Why can't Pepe continue to start?
Pepe can continue to start
one of
if
Aubameyang or Lacazette off.
Pepe can continue to start if Laka starts, not if Oba starts. If Oba is in the starting 11, you make a decision between him and Pepe.
Oba should not start until we have Madison. I don't think ESR is and here's the thing with the ESR thing. I think we have to acknowledge the type of attacking midfielder that he is and not be afraid of like knowing that he doesn't do everything. He's just not there yet in terms of, for me, the passing and the controlling of the game. And I think Aubameyang needs somebody that can, like you already said it, George, like he plays. Well, Madison plays well with Vardy, so he would play well with Aubameyang. I don't think ESR unlocks Aubameyang. I don't think he does that. He's more of like a bouncy connector, bounce, run around the corner, do ESR things. He's not really like that. And I think that's why Lacazette and ESR are a better fit together. But then you have Lacazette problems. And then we circle back to my agenda. I think we need a striker, you guys. I really just, I was watching that game today, like, it must be solved, unless Madison will solve everything, George, is that what you think? That if you bring in a Madison, you unlock Aubameyang and we're looking at the old Aubameyang, or are you not worried? There's a lot of comments saying, I'm worried.
I'm the only one that isn't worried, I think. I keep saying this every single stream. I'm sorry, guys. I don't see it. Madison solves a lot. It doesn't surprise me, by the way, that ESR looks better with another connector. That's what Madison's going to bring, another reference that can take the ball from him. And Emil Smith-Rowe is like a tempo dictator. That's what he is right now. I actually think he'll become a Maddison in a couple of years very easily. Like, he will be a poppy shot through ball expert, but he's just not quite there yet. He's still 1 or 2 kind of years away from that personally. And so that's why I think when you do include a Maddison, yeah, Aubameyang becomes absolutely relieved of his duties, and you don't need to have him on the left wing. And what it also does, Jess, is I don't think people understand, a Maddison pushes ESR in that left wing position. Like, you just add another body in the front line, right? And so then you no longer should be choosing Laka, Oba, both together. No, one or the other. That's it. Let's have some frontline balance. And I think that's the biggest push. And you start to have a mix of profiles that absolutely start to make sense, because I think Saka will get his shooting boots on too. And again, it's his first game. There was a great run. I don't know if anyone caught, like, he was in on the break, kind of on the right-hand side, and his right-footed shot was a little bit scuffed, and it was kind of like a very weak, tame shot. But that running, that intent, and that kind of him getting in those positions, excellent for projecting kind of success in output. So yeah, I do absolutely believe that Oba is not a bad goal scorer. I think that's a ridiculous statement to make.
Not saying that he's a bad goal scorer. That's not it. Like, I still
ability. Like, I don't think you lose that ability. You cannot
just...
for 5. Like, look, kid, look, I get the form. I get it. I'm with you. I'm upset that he's been in poor form, but I don't.
Is this form or is this forever?
It can't be forever, because athleticism. Look, you know what, Jess? I'll be with you if I don't see the pace. If I didn't see, for example, that Zappacosta run last week, if I didn't see the sharp movement in the 15-minute, Oba turns around, makes an absolutely insane through ball pass to Pepe that he does. I don't know if people remembered that. It was back in the left-hand corridor, and he sends Pepe on his bike, and it was a beautiful pass. I see those things, and that's sharp. That's sharp movement. So if I don't see those little pre-indicators, then sure, I'm with you. I think he's going to be very, very difficult. No, I didn't call her ridiculous. I called the comments that he's finished ridiculous.
Sometimes, you guys.
I called the comments that he's
part
finished
of my personality.
No, it's just I think, look, he's in tough form, and I do think, like, confidence is a very big thing for somebody like him. So he bangs a goal, I think you start to see a lot more Aubameyang, and in order to get that, you need to give him some technical security. Stop asking him to take the ball at the left wing and put in crosses. Like, I don't, at the same token, think, oh, rats, he's not getting goals. But you know what? He's on the left wing contributing to play. I don't think, I don't think anybody wants to see Aubameyang doing that. So, I don't know. I think he's fine. I really do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, I just need him to start scoring some goals or something. But I mean, honestly, you guys, at this point, you bring in Maddison, and I'll probably just shut up. I probably will just be like, forget it. Like, you know what I mean? Because I do think that he improves you quite a bit. Not even quite a bit. He changes you a lot. I mean,
a lot.
It was brutal watching him play for Leicester yesterday.
How good was he?
Every time they said Maddison, I was like, oh my gosh. And then it didn't make it any better that, like, they were showing, like, like Arsenal are interested in 24-year-old Maddison. I was like, the pressure is on to get that done, but I do think we're bringing in an attacking midfielder, and I think that helps ESR. I think that helps Saka. I think that helps Aubameyang. It helps the whole front line. We have a connection from our back line to our midfield. We just don't really have that. You have that middle buildup that's so good, but you don't have anybody that demands respect in the middle of the field. And I think that's why we end up on the wings so often. It's because we don't command respect in central midfield. We just don't. When you have somebody like a Maddison, you know that either you're going to have to foul him, and then he's going to have a dangerous free kick somewhere at the top of the box, or you let him go, and you try to block passing lanes. We just don't have anybody like that. I don't think ESR really commands that just yet. And we don't have a central forward that does it either. So I think that would change a lot. A lot of it is about respect. I saw Spurs literally just crowding out the center of midfield, basically saying, I dare any of you guys to collect this ball because none of you guys are good enough to wiggle out of this pressure, which I think is quite true. but yeah, we'll see what goes down. But there's about 278 of you guys watching on all platforms. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow we'll be doing a Premier League home kit rankings. So we're going to do something a little bit more fun, loose, relax a little bit. We'll be ranking all the home kits for all the Premier League sides. And yep. And then we'll be building up all the way up until our first game against Brentford with a show every single day, doing predictions, match previews, predictions for the entire Premier League. And then we'll just start regular scheduling from there on. And I want to also let you guys know that I'm going to be doing a transfer deadline day special where I'll be on for about 3 to 4 hours, giving you guys all the updates on what's happening on transfer deadline day. And you guys will be able to call in and all that great stuff. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll also be launching memberships this coming week. Look out for that as well. And all of that. I really enjoy, talking to you guys and stuff. Although some of the comments were like, not nice, you guys. I will, it's fine. Just let's keep the cussing out. And yeah,
we love the love, we love the hate. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye, y'all. I guess I should get it up. Right.